David Cuthbert. Now, I've known David quite some time, and I've always seen his artwork around. You may well have seen it as well, you probably haven't. Maybe you even own some. But what I didn't know until earlier this year, that David's grandfather is also a fantastic artist, and that's what he's going to talk about this evening during his talk. David, over to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, good evening everyone. We're going to be looking at part of the life of my grandfather, and sadly I only knew him till I was 12, but nevertheless I was very fond of him, and he was something of a joker. There were all kinds of sort of tricks and jigs that he got up to, which my grandmother was not. I'm going to read what he said there. And so these are the words of my grandfather from his hand-painted and handwritten autobiography. I was born in a round house about 3 miles from Norwich, though I have no recollection of living there. My mother died when I was just over a year old. Father moved to Port Hamlet, my younger brother and myself, leaving an older brother with grandmother Reed and a sister with grandmother Cuthbert. Of course, I was too young to remember all this upheaval. Anyhow, the first I could remember was living with my grandmother Cuthbert at Thorpe St Andrew, Willow Terrace, where I think I spent some of the best and happy days, wearing my petticoats and drawers just like a girl, I believe until I was nearly 5 years old. I often think of the time I stood alone at the top of the passage, watching the people walking by and seeing the shadow of trees running down their backs. When I was about 4 years old, Father married again, so that ended my days with grandmother. We next left for a new home. There we found a new mother waiting for us. It wasn't long before we both had to go to school, which neither of us thought much of at first. We lived about a mile from the school. There was no conveyance those days, so we always walked it. About the time I was 10 years old, I went into hospital to have a slight operation. I stayed 1 week. It felt very strange to be with people I had never seen before. I remember reading the newspaper to 1 or 2 old men. This was during the South African War. And you can probably see in the slide the hoarding underneath the window of the shop says Lady Smith relieved. And my grandfather written in the bottom right hand corner, I was puzzled at the time when reading this placard. Little happened until I left school. Then I started to work for a little while at a tailor's shop, as an errand boy, walking 3 miles to work, running about all day, then walking home at night. I began to realise that this was getting me nowhere. So I commenced as an apprentice to display work and lettering, which I remained at for 5 years. In the meantime, I joined with my older brother, the local territorials, East Anglian Field Ambulance, which I served 4 years. Then, in the spring of 1914, I decided to leave home and work in London, which I found very lonely at first. It was not long before the Great War started. After some time working in London, trade began to slow down, so I simply had to pack up and join the army again. I enlisted in the 60th Rifles and trained at Seaford on the south coast. After a few months there, I found myself on the way to the harbour. 3 or 4 miles out of the town was a huge training camp. After going through the bull ring, this is a very severe bayonet fighting course. Many men had their legs broken on this course. It was done away with in the latter part of the war. Now this part of his story is interesting and very intriguing to me. From what I can make out, he would have gone through the bull ring in 1916. A year later, there was the worst mutiny the British Army has ever had at Etaples. And basically this sentence, or part of this sentence, where my grandfather said many men had their legs broken, during the training, if you weren't sufficiently savage in your attacking with your bayonet at the suspended straw-filled sacks, men actually literally had their legs broken deliberately. Some men were hung on barbed wire, and because of this kind of treatment, there was a mutiny, which was terrible. The men actually sacked the town of Itapia, and the authorities had to bring troops out of the front line to put it down. Again, another interesting fact attached to that is that most of the troops that were mutinying were Canadian and Australian. The guy who organised the mutiny was English, and it is assumed that the reason why there were many more Canadians and Australians mutinying was because there was no death penalty in those armies, while there still was in the British Army. Anyway, if we go to slightly less dark corner, at the bottom of the slide you might see it says children start smoking very young in Belgium. So we have soldier marching past some clouds of smoke from these kids. Now this drawing was one that I found. I was taking apart an old frame in which one of my grandfather's watercolours was in it. I wanted to reframe it, and in the back of it I found this ink and wash drawing, which in Belgium in 1916. And you'll see in a minute, one of the significant things about the drawing is that they are marching in fours, which was pretty common. And I'll read you a little bit now from a letter which was written by another soldier, no connection whatsoever, but something that I found which I thought would be helpful. The up-to-date soldier kit to carry about from place to place consists of 150 rounds of ammunition inside the pack, overcoat, fur coat, 2 pairs of socks, 1 pants, 1 shirt, ground sheet, iron rations, outside pack, Macintosh and mess tin, in haversack, cleaning kit, whole ball, 24 pounds rations, soap and towel, and on top of that, extras such as handkerchiefs, plate, mug, tobacco, etc. 2 smoke helmets. They were things that were for gas attacks. And on top of that, in a satchel slung over the shoulder, a respirator in the left flap of the tunic and field dressing on the right, and of course the rifle. In all, it's no lightweight on a long march. It takes all one's strength and staying power to keep going. And this is another drawing I found, also by my grandfather, and interestingly they're marching in threes. And I've been trying to sort of find out the reasons behind this, and I haven't really come up with a definitive answer. One suggestion is that it was to do with the ferocity of bombardments from the enemy, and it was better to march in threes because you lost fewer men when a shell exploded, but whether that's really the case, I don't know. And I mean, I've looked at some regimental sites, and again, I haven't found a definitive answer to that, so that's still a mystery. And here's another study that my grandfather made. He didn't use it in the book. He did a number of drawings in preparation. I suspect that this one was made well after the war. And this is to do, obviously, cleaning rifles. And I thought again it would be interesting to hear a bit about the ordinary kind of activity that a soldier had to go through first thing. So following the morning stand to, inspection, and breakfast, soldiers undertook any number of chores ranging from cleaning latrines to filling sandbags or repairing duckboards. During daylight hours, they conducted all work below ground and away from the snipers searching rifles. In between work fatigues, there was often time for leisure activities. Soldiers read, kept journals, wrote letters, or gambled. And here we are with being led by a lieutenant. See the soldier in the front, left there with a Lewis gun over his shoulder, type of machine gun. And here we have a lieutenant pointing sort of across towards a hill which is absolutely riddled with shell holes and completely shattered trees. Again, a study which didn't become a painting, but nevertheless, a number of artists, much better known than my grandfather, didn't paint that kind of scene. And this is a painting by Paul Nash, which is called "We Are Making a New World." And this was painted in 1918. Nash, unusually for a war artist, actually did go right up to the front and apparently terrified his driver by insisting on going as close as possible to the front lines. And so we really saw and experienced something of what it was like. He made studies there, but the paintings themselves were painted in Buckinghamshire once he got back to England. And this is another painting by a well-known war artist, Eric Kennington. And this, I thought, is particularly interesting and unusual in that it's a very large painting, given the medium. The tallest dimension is 5 foot, but it's actually painted on a piece of glass. And the painting is called The Kensingtons at Laventie, 1915. The winter of 1915 was particularly severe, and these are soldiers in the rear after coming out of the trenches. Eric Kennington himself was injured and was out of active service, but then became a war artist and did a number of interesting paintings. But this one is considered to be his masterpiece, and it's in the Imperial War Museum. And each of the figures in the painting are portraits. So I can read you. This is the description from the Imperial War Museum. The portraits are of Private A. Sweeney Todd, who's in the foreground, and on the left you've got Private H. Bristol in the red scarf, Private A. McCafferty carrying 2 rifles, and the artist himself is the guy in the middle wearing a balaclava. Private W. Harvey, Private P.A. Guy, known as Good Little Guy, Lance Corporal H. Wilson, etc., etc. The unemotional depiction of the hardships and endurance of the common soldier was praised by critics, and Kennington was to develop these themes during subsequent visits to the Western Front as an artist. And this painting, some of you may recognise this one because it's in the City Art Gallery in Bristol. And this is one by Christopher Nevinson. And he was an artist who trained at the Slade and was influenced by Italian futurism. So you can see that the figures compared to the last painting we were looking at, they're much more stylised. The previous painting that we were looking at is much more, you could say, almost pre-Raphaelite in kind of realism and colours, while this is a much more stripped down, and I guess you could almost argue kind of cartoony in quality. And there were some amenities, if that's the right word, in the trenches, and as you can see from this drawing, this is again, another one of my grandfather's. This is a little YMCA in a trench. So this was obviously a charitable thing. There was a campaign, postal campaign in the country to raise money for the YMCA. They provided tea and places for soldiers to go when they were kind of off out of the front line. And here's one of the posters advertising what the YMCA do. This is a dugout in France in 1915. So this poster is a copy of it in the Imperial War Museum. So obviously they're trying to make it look as cosy as possible. There are a number of posters showing different kind of activities that were available, but you can see it's a fairly kind of ad hoc arrangement. Right, so now we're heading to the front. We were issued with a rifle, sword, and 100 rounds of ammunition each. A few days later, we entrained for the Somme front. Arriving about midnight, we could smell the half-buried dead a long way from the front line. It was very bad. So you can see in this, certainly in this little painting, you can see that the trench is something that would have been dug pretty quickly overnight. It's not a well-established one. And here's another study. This one looks as if it's in a much more finished, deeper trench, so that the men can actually rest their rifles on the top. So another study by my grandfather. The lieutenant of our section came up to my pal and I. "You see that bridge over the canal?" He said, "I want you to lead for our company." This meant walking 100 yards in front. You can see in the picture these little kind of black commas flying up on the right, actually being met with cluster flies, which on the screen. But those things are called toffee apples, trench mortars. And getting next to the comment, these toffee apples are easily seen during upward flight, but not when coming down. Well, we did, but before we got to the bridge, the Germans started up their machine guns. Anyhow, we got over the bridge. Several of our fellows were knocked out now. Then the lieutenant was shot through the head. He almost fell at my feet. It was too hot to be pleasant. We laid in the long grass until dusk. Some of the men managed to get into an old building, but 3 of us wasn't so lucky. The firing died down, so we made a run back to the bridge, where we found a number of men and many wounded. We all retired back over the bridge and had a hot drink of tea. There I discovered my mess tin had 2 bullet holes in it. I think I borrowed somebody's drinking utensil at the time. Well, we were ordered to go and assist another company as they were getting into trouble. I very soon found I was in the thick of it again. I jumped into the slip trench with my pal that had been with me all day. The Germans must have been very near to us. They had fired everything they had. It wasn't long before my pal was hit in the neck. It couldn't have been serious, as he left me to look for a first aid man. I never saw him again. And here we have a drawing, again not used in his book, of a couple of Germans taken prisoner. And here's a picture of someone who has been shot in the neck. Again, he didn't use it in the drawing. I do vaguely remember my grandfather telling me about this incident, because as a child, certainly I was younger than 11, someone's kind of image of what it was like was pretty vague. I mean, a lot of soldiers that came out of either any war are very reluctant to talk about what went on, but my grandfather didn't seemed to have those scruples. He wasn't, I mean, no doubt there were things that he didn't tell us, but he wasn't kind of silent and brooding type. Now this is a kind of notorious painting. This is another one by Christopher Nevinson. And again, probably best to read what the Imperial War Museum has to say about it. So this is, say, one of his most famous paintings, and we see the bodies of 2 dead British soldiers behind the Western Front. The title, which is called Paths of Glory, is a quote from Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard by Thomas Gray. The boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth ere gave, awaits alike the inevitable hour. The paths of glory lead but to the grave. So, whereas the poet reflects on those dead and buried in a churchyard, the so-called paths of glory have led these soldiers to death in a wasteland. Paths of Glory was famously censored by the official censor of paintings and drawings in France, Lieutenant Colonel A.N. Lee. His concern presumably being the representation of the rotting and bloated British corpses at this stage in the war. The decision was confirmed 3 months before the opening of his exhibition at the Leicester Galleries in 1918. But Nevinson still included the painting with a brown paper strip across the canvas, blatantly inscribed with the word censored. As a result, Nevinson was reprimanded for exhibiting a censored image and for the unauthorized use of the word censored in a public space. Predictably, the stunt created the publicity Nevinson desired. The painting was bought by the museum during the course of the exhibition. So this is a British artist's view of some of the destruction, the tragedy of the war, and the next slide is of a German artist, Otto Dix, who fought throughout the war. He survived it, and this is he also, like Nevinson, was influenced by futurism, but obviously took it to a much greater extreme. And this painting is called Artillery Duel, and this was made in 1917. And he also recorded other things in a more horrific way, such as this. These watercolours, also by Dix, and it is called In Memory of the Glorious Time. And this was painted in 1923. Now obviously, during the war and after, there were lots of maimed soldiers about, and one of the necessities was to kind of rehabilitate them, try and repair the damage as best as could be done. And Henry Tonks, who was the artist who made this study, was a teacher of drawing at the Slade in London, but he was also a doctor. And during the First World War, one of his tasks was to record damaged soldiers, like this one, which is a portrait of a wounded soldier before treatment. And here is a portrait of a wounded soldier after treatment. So they, obviously it has kind of 2 functions. One is as a medical record, but also they are very skillful pieces of draftsmanship, but obviously without the kind of anger that Otto Dix put into his work. Now this, I'm sure you won't be able to read, but my grandfather was wounded in another battle. Pieces of shrapnel embedded themselves in his foot, and he was then whipped back to Blighty and into the Bethnal Green Military Hospital. And this is a letter that was sent to him while he was in bed. Dear Sir, through the generosity of the people of Bethnal Green, I am enabled to hand you the accompanying pocket wallet and khaki pocket handkerchiefs as a small souvenir of your temporary stay in Bethnal Green. From the same source, a treasure bag, toothbrush, shaving stick, toilet soap, smoking materials, etc. were forwarded to the officer commanding to be supplied to you on your admission to the hospital. I am desired to convey to you an expression of the admiration of the people of Bethnal Green for the heroic sacrifices which you have made and the gallant services which you have rendered on behalf of your king and country, and to express the hope that you will be able to enjoy the motor charabanc and theatre outings, variety in dramatic entertainments, whist drives, band performances, etc., which the committees of the fund arrange from time to time. With compliments and best wishes, yours faithfully, W.J. Lewis, Mayor of Bethnal Green. Could I have a glass of water? My throat is going to give up. So, yes, so there he was in Bethnal Green in the hospital. I'm not sure whether he would have particularly been that excited about the whist drive. Lots of my maiden aunts were into whist drives, but I don't remember my grandfather playing whist. So here's a photograph of I'm assuming that this is the pocket wallet. And inside the pocket wallet were various things which were not mentioned in that list, which were obviously his own personal treasures, including this one. So he obviously had an interest in art, other than just simply doing drawing. This is a little postcard, a souvenir, which it shows a painting by Boucher, Diana after the bath. And also this, which is a Rubens, the March of the Silenus. Now there's actually quite an interesting story attached to this painting, because there is a connection with a couple of connections with warfare. The painting was looted from Warsaw in 1656 by Frederick William, Elector of Brandenburg, and was displayed in the Berlin's Gemälde Gallery until 1944, and then it vanished, and it's never been found since. And here we have, while he was in hospital, see, Rifleman E. Cuthbert at Mercy Ward. This is from his sister. Dear Elvin, I'm sorry I shall not be able to see you today. I must take Willie around before he goes back. I will see you on Sunday, if nothing else happens. Weren't you surprised to see him? Love, Lily. And Aunt Lily, again, I did meet her. She actually ran a sweet shop in Clinton Street, which is in the heart of Knightsbridge. She didn't own it, but she ran a sweet shop for donkey's years, certainly into the 1960s. Every birthday, she would send us a package full of sweets and comics from this sweet shop. And weirdly, in 1981, I think it was, in 1981, I was commissioned to paint a trompe-l'oeil mural in a very, very swanky flat in Knightsbridge. And when I got there, it was on the site where the sweet shop was. Extraordinary coincidence. So this is a postcard to his stepmother. Dear mother, got back safe, saw Lily and Jack. I'm going to France on Saturday. A bit quick, isn't it? I might write again before going. If not, we'll drop you a line when in France. So long, kind regards to all, yours, Elvin. So they didn't keep him very long back in England, and sent back into the front line again. So we're jumping on a bit. This is another adventure. This slip trench was about 12 feet long, held just 5 of us. 1 was killed, 2 were wounded, 2 of us got out safely. The sergeant came and told us to retire to the second line. Even that was a tricky job because the men in these trenches did not know who we were in the dark. They could hear us running, so we had to shout to stop them shooting at us. The next day, my battalion retired from this sector for a few days' rest, which was much appreciated. We lived in bell tents. Our holiday was soon over, and we were back in the same trench during the night, which was very peaceful. I remember we had a good German dugout to sleep in, and wire netting bed to lie on. But alas, I did not see anybody sleep on them. Shells began to come over now. It was now dawn, so all must stand to. The machine guns started on both sides. The German aeroplanes began to come over our trenches, firing at us. We began to realise something big was on. Over the brow of the hill, the men in grey began to come. We started rapid firing, but they did not come near us. Jerry moved left of our front. I turned round just then to look over our back area and saw some of our men running. I soon found out why, because the sergeant came along and said, "It's all up, boys. You will have to give up. We are surrounded." The Germans broke through on our right and came up behind us, and that was the end of the war for our little crowd. I have only described one battle owing to lack of space. So, we found ourselves prisoners of war in the very village we had tried to capture in November 1917. It's quite strange that he says that, because he was actually captured in November 1917, but admittedly right at the very end. Now began very hungry times in German prison camps. We had so little food, we all became weak. And here we are, here's a pencil drawing of the capture. Quite a nice dramatic image. And so this is a postcard from the Red Cross informing. We are informed, lists dispatched from Berlin, 15th of January 1918, that Rifleman E. Cuthbert, 33429, King's Rifles, born 23rd of the 3rd, 91, Norwich, taken 30th of November 1917, Cambrai, arrived from the front of Munster II in Germany. Munster II was actually a race course. It was used then as a prison camp. And now this is a card which he has signed, so kind of making it official, showing that he was a prisoner of war at Dulmen in Westphalia. Now I did a bit of research into this, and one of the interesting things about being a prisoner of war was that if you were an officer, you spent the rest of the war in a camp. If you were an ordinary soldier, you spent some time in camps until you were sorted, and then you would be sent to work somewhere. And my grandfather was extremely fortunate in that he wasn't sent down the mines, which a very large number of the soldiers who were at Dulmen, that's what happened to them. So, we mentioned that he was very, very weak and easily tired. As you can guess, we had a bad Christmas. Our rations while in prison cages was ersatz coffee, no milk in it. For breakfast and dinner, cabbage or vegetable soup. Tea, 1 slice of bread, nothing more. And then the little script at the bottom says, "First night in prison cage, no floorboards. There we remained all night. The prisoners who preceded us had burned them for warmth." And we have a roll call. Another one of his sketches, again, never turned into a painting. And this one is really fascinating because I found no written reference to this, and again, as far as I'm aware, made no painting of it, but it's obviously a prison guard surreptitiously dropping bits of food for soldiers to pick up. So obviously not all the guards were nasty and without some compassion for their prisoners. I remember one instance whilst there, a pond happened to be near our hut, and some of the fellows had been throwing rubbish in it. That did not suit the Germans, so they put a sentry against it. Some clot pushed him in when not looking. Then a hue and cry started up. It seemed as if he ran into the French compound, but Jerry paid us all for this. He made us stop outside our huts all night, foot of snow on the ground too. He never found out the culprit. I sold my gold ring for a loaf of bread and 1 ounce of tobacco. We were all doing this, exchanging our good boots for half-worn pairs and loaves of bread. One man sold his trousers. He walked about in a blanket until the Germans gave him another pair, all done to get extra food. After about 3 months in the prison camp, we were split up into groups. My lot went on farms in Schleswig-Holstein. The morning we left, we were given a German sausage and a piece of bread, which was eaten at once. I had no food until the following day at lunchtime. We were travelling by train from daybreak until 11 p.m., then marched into the local jail for the night at Haida, 3 to a cell, no food, no hot. Oh, we'll come to that in a minute. Just hold that in your minds, no hot. Here's a little map, which is also I found in that little wallet. So it's a map of Schleswig-Holstein, which is, if you don't know your German geography, is the sort of neck that connects North Germany to Denmark. And there's a better map. So you can see where it says Gefangen Lager Blumen, and you travel from there up to Haida, which is at the sort of southwest corner of Schleswig-Holstein. So, no hot drinks, no heating, no blankets, nothing. Anyhow, I arrived on the farm about dinner time next day and asked into dinner with the family. Now you can imagine me. I ate as I had never done before and felt quite queer afterwards. Again, there's no description attached to this image. He doesn't refer to it, but that's obviously a self-portrait there with the broom. So I became a farmer's boy. My job was to feed horses, cows and pigs and keep the place clean. One of the disadvantages of not being able to speak the language led me into trouble all around. I had no experience of animals, and through being quiet I received a nasty bite from a horse, also a pig. I found out later that you must shout to them before getting near, as I was a stranger. It was not long when able to drive a pair of horses and wagons through the farm gate without knocking the posts down. There were no Englishmen working with me, so I had to try and pick up the German language, which was very difficult, because I could not get an English-German dictionary. Many of the 1914 POWs were able to speak the language very well. I came across a guardsman who was captured in 1914 and was able to speak French and German fluently. Unfortunately, he died of the flu in November 1918. I carried on with farm work, up before daybreak in the summer, finished between 7 and 8 p.m, given a good supper, then went to bed tired out. Part of the time I worked with 2 Frenchmen. They always spoke to me in German language. It is curious how he never says German, it's all German language, as if it was something else. But the German on the left there holding the meerschaum pipe, that was one of his souvenirs, he brought back was a meerschaum pipe. After a time I began to understand them slightly, and we got on very well together. The Frenchmen were paid 20 marks a week, and I 15 marks. We often went to the village pub and had a few drinks on Sundays. Some men who came to thrash the corn for the farmer gave us the news that an armistice had been signed. We celebrated by, one Frenchman and myself, getting out of the window when we were all in bed and visiting the pub, having a long drink. We were the only customers. We left about 1 a.m, a bit inebriated. About the middle of December 1918, the farmer came into our room and told me to pack up my things and be ready to leave for England early next morning. I felt sorry for the Frenchmen. They were not told to go when I was. So, back to the cages, then by ship to Copenhagen. So here we have another painting from his book. The Danes sang that old war song, Tipperary, as well as the troops on board as we sailed out of the harbour. And this is a letter that he got after he was released. You might be able to read there, from Buckingham Palace. The Queen joins me in welcoming you on your release from the miseries and hardships which you have endured with so much patience and courage. During these many months of trial, the early rescue of our gallant officers and men from the cruelties of their captivity has been uppermost in our thoughts. We are thankful that this longed-for day has arrived, and that back in the old country we will be able once more to enjoy the happiness of a home and see good days among those who anxiously look for your return. George R. Arnold. We stopped for a fortnight getting new clothes, etc., after which we boarded a large liner. The Danes had a band on the quay, and many citizens of Copenhagen were there to see us off. By the way, before I left the German prison camp, I went to the funeral of 8 of our fellows who died of the flu and were buried in one large grave. An NCO read the burial service. He mentions that this was, an account of this was given in Eastern Evening News. We were on this line for 4 or 5 days before landing at Hull, owing to the mines, then trained to a camp at Ripon, Yorkshire, for medical examination and some money. So a few days later, I was home once again. Again, it'd be interesting to read these awful statistics. The Spanish flu caused at least 50 million fatalities worldwide. And that's compared with the military and civilian deaths of 37 million. So I had 2 months leave before reporting back at the Winchester depot. Several of us had to join a remount camp near Southampton, so I was with horses again. These had come from France to be sold. The grey horse I was riding one day decided to bolt, and I felt myself sliding off, but I managed to grab hold of the head collar and slid to the ground, still holding. The horse stopped at once, so no damage was done. It was an interesting life. We made many journeys by train to London with horses to be sold at Tattershall's, riding through London after midnight. Then we would sleep in a soldier's hostel and have all day for sightseeing. And I thought it would be interesting to get a look at a contemporary painting of a showing at Tattershall's, painted in 1919. So it would have been absolutely contemporary. This is by Robert Bevan, who was one of the Camden Town painters. And this painting is in the Ashmolean. About this time, I began to hear of the unemployed problem, as there was no obligation for employers to take back returned soldiers. So I wondered if I should finish up by selling matches on London Bridge. The firm I had worked for had disappeared. I decided to get out of the army as soon as possible and join the queue looking for work. After being at home 2 weeks, I was offered a job at my trade in Norwich. Over 3 years I had not held a brush in my hand, so I was quite out of practice. Anyhow, I managed to get along fairly well after a time. So, this is a little painting of his house being built, and there was an act, the Housing and Town Planning Act of 1919, which provided ex-soldiers with a £90 grant so that you could build your own house. And so his house was built in around about 1923. I'm not sure the exact date, but that's where my father was born. And this is my last slide, and that is my grandfather on the left and my father on the right. And this is by the front door. And I just think it's a wonderful photograph of him looking at his son and maybe wondering what kind of future is he going to experience. This would have been taken about 1925. My father was born in 23, so he looks as if he's about 2 in that picture. Of course, now another 14 years after this, the next war came along, and my father then was, when he was old enough, was then called up and he went into the RAF. So I don't know whether any of you would like to ask any questions or make any comments about what we've seen and what I've shown.
David, thank you very, very much for an intriguing look at a soldier in a prisoner of war camp. The first story I'd ever heard of soldiers. Very unique. You must be very proud of your grandfather's work and his beautiful paintings and illustrations. I mean, I've had the privilege of seeing them firsthand. They are absolutely wonderful. So if anyone's got any questions, please.
I just like to say I'm brilliant.
Sorry, yes.
I have no questions. I just think it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Did he do any more painting?
Yes, I mean his career was as a sign writer, and that's what he did. So he was doing sort of posters, and back in the old days, a lot of shops was had these big blinds that he pulled down, and he would do the lettering on those. He worked for a firm until 1929-30 when the crash came, and then he was basically the firm went bust, and so he was on his own. But he then he became independent, set up his own business, but really struggled until the war broke out. And then there was lots of work. There was all the sort of ARP signs to be done. And then when the Americans came in, he then did a lot of work doing things like painting pin-ups on the backs of flying jackets and that kind of thing. In fact, in his book, he says the Americans marvelled at his house because he had an open fire, because they were all used to central heating. I mean, I guess being flyers, they probably would be more sort of middle-class Americans, I guess.
Did he have anything to say about the Second World War?
Well, yes, there is in the book. There are descriptions. I mean, we could have another shot at the rest of his life. Yes, I mean his studio was hit, a direct hit in a bombing raid. It was completely destroyed. The only thing that survived was the earpiece of his telephone out of the rubble. But eventually got back on his feet. In fact, I think, again, I'm not absolutely certain, but I think he then did all his work in a big garden shed in the garden, so he didn't need to rent premises.
Is that house still there?
It's not, no. In 1969, when my grandmother died, it was put up for sale, and next door to it was a garage, a car dealership, and they bought the house and demolished it and expanded the things. So yeah, it's gone.
Was the book ever published?
No. The only time it's ever had any kind of other print made of it was in the Eastern Evening News, it would be in the late 50s or early 60s.
David,
James.
did he prepare those paintings from studies that he produced in the war? Did he prepare them after the war? How did
Oh
he-
yes. I mean,
So he did lots of studies, and then they were all used.
well, looking at the style of the drawings that I'm pretty confident were done at the time, they are quite different from the style of drawing that I found, which are definitely studies for the book. And the book, I'm pretty sure, was made between about 1947 and 1949. So it was very much kind of after the time. And of course by then he was much more in command of his craft as well. Yes, I mean some of the early drawings are quite crude. I mean his training was pretty basic. He went to an evening class at Norwich Art School, and then the rest really was done on the job and as an apprentice.
William, yeah.
I think I recall rightly, he was taken prisoner in November 1917.
Yes.
How long did your grandmother have to wait before she...
Well, no, he wasn't married at that.
Right.
At that point. No. In fact, I'm not even sure that he met her at that point.
No.
In fact, that's another thing I should have brought. Again, intriguingly, in that little wallet is a black lace glove.
Right.
And I'm also pretty confident that never belonged to my grandmother. She definitely wasn't that sort at all. I did wonder about my grandmother and my grandfather were absolutely chalk and cheese.
Right.
And he was really a lad. Ros and I went to Norwich in 1971, I think it was, and to visit an uncle and aunt. And this is, both my grandmother and grandfather died by then, but my uncle said, there are a couple of your grandfather's friends are still alive living such and such, why don't you go and visit them? And so we did, and they were very friendly and interested. And one of the things that's really stuck in my mind is, of course, your grandfather, he liked nothing better than to go down the pub and have a really good argument. He was very left wing, and I think again that was probably due to his experiences in the war. But he also was a joker. I mean, I remember as a child going through Norwich Station, going in a line with our tickets, and the ticket collector going, good morning to everyone, good morning, and of course, Grandad came in last, when he came to him and said, good night, but it was an appeal to a child. And the other incident was one Christmas, when we all had Christmas pudding, and we just, we've got sixpence. And suddenly there was this almighty crash, and there were coins flying all over the floor. And it was Grandad.
Right, one more, everybody? Right. David, thank you very, very much. Wonderful.